everybody. Welcome to our weekly meeting. And today we're going to go into a basic facet of Tai Chi that a lot of people are not aware of. And it has to do with the idea, or the principle, actually, that Tai Chi is in motion while being yin and yang at the same time, mixing and moving. Joining us today are Art from up in the Washington, D.C. area, and Art, and then Greg Nollmeyer from the Ann Arbor, Michigan area.
Hey.
Harry Legg from the New Jersey, Verona, New Jersey, outside of New York City area.
Oh, hello. Thank you, Sifu.
Matt Holker from Maryville, Tennessee, outside of Knoxville.
Hello, everybody.
And Daniel Stringer from the Paisley, DeLand, Florida area.
Hello.
And so Tai Chi is in motion. The Tai Chi symbol, the one you see, which is like on my shirt here, and everybody sees this and they think, okay, that's the Tai Chi symbol. And it is a Tai Chi symbol, but it is a 2D representation of the reality of what Tai Chi is. The reality is that Tai Chi would not be a flat like this. It would be a ball, and that ball would have half yin, half yang, half white, half black in this case, for the colors right now, with a little bit of each in the other, and that they're turning and moving the whole time, and that one is going in and the other one is coming around and going in, and that there's this continuous movement that's going on, and that mixture and moving like that is, and that sphere moving in slow, that kind of thing, that is the Tai Chi. And when they blend, it's not like if I had a white substance and a black substance, now I have a light brown substance. They stay independent, so that there's the yin and extreme yin aspect, and the yang and extreme yang aspect, and then a little bit of each that goes into the other like that. But they do maintain their separation, even though they're co-mingling like that. So that they don't end up one substance. It's kind of like oil and water, where they don't really mix in it, but they keep sort of circulating like that. All right. And there's a reflection of each one in the other. That's kind of where the little dot, that's part of what the little dots are trying to show too. And so any thoughts or questions about that?
Well, I've been working on, I do the Wu Chi for a while to get the energy around, and then as I start the Tai Chi, I have been working on keeping the energy there and aware of it. And after I developed the ability to where I always have the energy flowing with me, I've more lately been working with trying to become aware of the yin and the yang energy and where it is, and sort of one arm yin, one arm yang, and as it moves throughout my body. So I feel more able to control where the energy is and how I could use it for various situations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then our plug-in to the heaven energy and the yang and the earth energy, and they mix in us, and then because they're mixing in us, there is a residual that then is a mixed energy that we are made of, that those start to give you, and so there you start to get real long-term healthy juice from that. Very slow and residual, but that mixture is getting a little bit of where you get some of both put into a form that we as humans have and use for our own energy. And so it does do that, even though although the heaven energy stays the heaven energy, the ground energy stays the ground energy, until you're getting that little residual off that is a mixture in the middle. And so heaven, earth, where the mankind is in the humans are in the middle, connected to that, if you're doing your Tai Chi at the higher level that's appropriate for doing that. Okay, go ahead. Anybody else have any thoughts or anything about what I'm talking to with the 2D and the fact that it's constantly moving and all of that?
Yeah. Just so well, it's something that you've said in other contexts, and that I sort of apply in my head to what you're saying now, is that Tai Chi is action. It is in motion. It's not rooted. It's rooting. It's not mixed. It's not the two energies are mixed. They are mixing. And it's always this process of action. Tai Chi is acting. It is moving. It is alive, and it is not ever stationary. It is not like a fixed quality that just kind of sits there.
Stationary is Wu Chi, and then Tai Chi is in motion. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, well, yeah, exactly. And so the Wu Chi, there are benefits to Wu Chi, and there are things that we do with Wu Chi, but Tai Chi by definition is in motion. And so when you're practicing your Tai Chi, especially the internal qualities, it's really easy to look at the Tai Chi form and go, well, yeah, I'm moving everywhere. But and there's different kind of ways to do that, and there's important reasons to do that. But for the internal qualities, it's not that, I listened to him. I'm listening. It's not, that
it's active. It's active and ongoing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it is active and ongoing all the time, and that's really important. And the more you can engage in that, the more success you have in the higher levels of the Tai Chi you can graduate to more quickly. And what I've sort of got out of that is, we talk a lot about being in the moment, and that it's really hard to be in really acting and aware of how you're acting if you're not in the moment, because you can be acting, but you're not really conscious of it or connected to it if you're not in the moment. That you really have to be present in order to be doing the Tai Chi properly. It's just fundamental.
Yeah, cool. I'll be talking more about that here in a little bit. So cool. Anybody else?
Yeah. I mean, there's so much to say. For the people listening, if you really listened to what Matt just said, there's a lot of nuggets there. As far as Tai Chi moving continuously, there's the old Tai Chi saying, running water doesn't go stale, or rolling stone gathers no moss, and it's just good for your health if you're not stagnant, kind of thing.
And we're not saying that you shouldn't do some stationary standing and calming and Wu Chi centered stuff. It's just that the importance is a lot of people tend to confuse and think that Tai Chi, because of the slowness of the thing, is somehow still. And so they start to use it. And like, let's say for the martial context, and even for the healing one, let me talk about the martial one first. And they take a pose and it's like, you're not doing Tai Chi right now. And they're like, I'm in a Tai Chi posture. You might be in a posture that Tai Chi would move through, but you're not doing Tai Chi when you're standing there stationary. Tai Chi is in motion. And then for the health side, we had an acupuncturist. We've got a number of acupuncturists who study with us. And one of the acupuncturists gave a lecture for me one day and basically said that the healthy state in the body, what an acupuncturist is trying to do is to make sure there's no stagnation through your system, that your system is a flowing, moving through you from the beginning to the end on a cycle, but that it moves through you. And if there's any place that an acupuncturist finds that there's a block to that or a stop to that or it's quit moving, the goal in acupuncture is to get the system, the energy in the system flowing again, slow and steady, but that. And that as soon as there's a stagnation or a stop somewhere, you immediately begin to go into an unhealthy, kind of towards an extreme unhealthy, if there's any duration of time to that state. And so they're trying to keep everything flowing along, and that it's very important. And then that's the Tai Chi, again, is that movement, not the stationary. Cool. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. In the martial art of Tai Chi, the physical aspect of this has to do with your structure and alignment with softness or which is sung. And think about it like a gel bag. So I've got a gel bag and it's got the gel in it. It's squishy, and if I turn or move it in any way, the gel in there is adjusting, and the whole bag is pliable and moving. And even if you set it down on something, it's settling. And like you said, it's the ing that continually doing something unless you leave it stationary and aren't touching it. But anytime you try to touch it in any way, hold on to it, even put it in your fingers, parts of it are starting to kind of come through. It's kind of oozing down, looking, this kind of a thing. And so there is structure in it. The ooze and the gel isn't going all over the place and over the table and out onto the floor. It's in the bag. So the bag is containing structure, and yet there's a lot of soft movement within that bag, right? And it's relaxed, not collapsed in terms of ourselves, at least, that we're really holding a great zhongding, really good structure, and yet very soft inside of that, and that we don't insist or resist, which is now putting attention in there. So not that. And for you guys, is there any thoughts, simple practices on how to help people to do this? And yeah.
Well, when I work with people, and this is very basic, of course, but just try to emphasize the total body breathing, because I think that gives one a sense of awareness of the whole body, and everything moves together. And with
some of that internal movement.
Right. And then the connectedness, that the whole body again moves together. There's very little individual motion of an arm or a leg or anything. You keep moving. And when I can instill that in people, they they become more fluid in their motions, and they even express better feelings of relaxation and ease of motion. So that's sort of some of the basics I try to stress to people, and it seems to help.
Cool. Yeah, as you melt one part, all the other part, and really get it going on through you, then all the parts move and adjust and do some of this. So absolutely. Anybody else?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes there's a tricky balance for people between structure and feeling some movement. And often I will kind of play the opposites, where it's like, okay, let's get loose and move, let's hold structure. And then I'll use the bounce to kind of integrate that, because in a good bounce, if it's traveling everywhere, you have to have some decent structure. Though I love the whole body breathing. We do that too. But if you're feeling an internal, I don't mean like just momentum everywhere, but if you're feeling the fluid sort of compress down to your feet and come up to your head top when you're doing that bounce, that does require a decent structure.
Cool. Yeah, tennis, Tai Chi, Yin and Yang at the same time, or structure and relaxation at the same time. What were you going to say, Harry?
Well, it's very similar to what Greg just said. So,
sorry.
No, it's good.
It's good. It's good. I don't have a whole lot else to add. I do love the whole body breathing, and I really work with my students on that a lot.
What would you say is I know you do different things with them with it. What would you say is one of the ones that you really get better Tai Chi things out of for them, or that they tend to really kind of makes it click for them, or that kind of thing?
Well, learning to recognize in their entire body ultimately versus isolating one part, but I will teach them through isolating one part. And I'll purposely shut off my knees, make them tight, not breathing through them. I let them feel what that's like. And now I'm going to loosen them. I'm going to breathe through them and see the difference. And I said, now you got to keep that running through your entire body. Yep. And then they usually say to me, well, oh my gosh, how do you do that? And I said, I will say it's very much like when you're first learning to drive a car as a kid. Holy cow, there's the rear view mirror, the side mirror, this mirror, watching out for this, watching out for that. And it seems like a lot. Right now we get in the car and hopefully that's not the case. It's kind of, you can handle all of that sensory stuff at the same time. So I said it's very much the same thing with feeling your entire body at the same time. But it takes time. You have to practice it.
Cool. So isolating different parts in the ting, Jen.
Yeah.
Matt.
Well, there's two different exercises that, well, there's a few, but they all incorporate whole body breathing. I think Art hit the nail on the head there. For like a first day, doesn't know any Tai Chi kind of student, to just give them the idea of what it feels like to be structured and relaxed at the same time. A lot of times I will put them in the best Wu Chi that I kind of can, and they'll be a little stiff normally in that posture. And that, but while they're there, I'll have them kind of hang out there and get the sense of that position, and then do the whole body breathing, and on the out, let out the and get that vibratory quality going, and get them to kind of relax into the posture. And then when they're hanging out there, they, you know, it's easy to kind of point out, like, look, you are relaxed, right? You're pretty deeply relaxed compared to kind of how you're normally walking around, and yet you're not like collapsed into a heap on the floor. You have structure that's holding you up, and you want to use that structure more and more, and your muscles less and less. And that's, you know, that's the goal of Tai Chi. And then there's different ways that we, you know, take that and expand on that in the rest of the Tai Chi program. We have ways of incorporating that kind of breathing and those kinds of, you know, that and that relaxation into the form, and ways of doing the form with that relaxation that don't require that as a like a crutch, that you're just getting that deep relaxation. And then we have the tension relaxation exercises, which are in the Power of Relaxation video, and that we do regularly, you know, as part of our classwork here in Maryville, that really that kind of play on what Greg was talking about. They call out the extremes. It's really like, you know, all right, feel this relaxation and use this whole body breathing to feel that, and now tense everything and feel that, and now relax everything and feel that, and tense just parts and feel that, and really feel the differences. And by engaging in that activity, it allows you to really tell it, to really connect to your body in that way, where you can feel everywhere. And if there is a tension that's creeping in there, most people would ignore it, but it'll like scream out to you because you're so used to knowing the difference between what is tense and what's relaxed. And so all of these things, you know, over time build a much deeper relaxation in the body, partly through sensitivity, partly through habit. But you know, a lot of it is just that kind of process of discovery. Is like, oh wow, my back was really tense, I didn't even realize. And so, you know, having all the tools to call that out.
So all the benefits, and then also better Tai Chi and motion, and also better stillness, just because you're doing those correct things that you guys are talking about. So cool. Yep.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
I mean, for me, I would just say it's pretty much what I was going to say about the studying the Tai Chi, the Yin and Yang, that it's so much deeper than people might look, or you can continually study it in much refined ways. And when you're talking about breath or relaxation, there's just such a vast amount of information that you can really plug into and work on and refine. And it just goes into everything. And for the whole body breathing thing, I had learned it at one of the courses with UC Fu, and had a decent idea of it, but it was actually then a couple of years ago, we were at one of our workshops traveling, and Harry helped me work on it. He did one of the drills that I think he was talking about with his students. And really just taking it to that next step, it really made so much difference. And then like Matt's saying with the tension, anyone who's not really doing it at a full level, it just feels very different. And then so especially in the push hands context, you have things there that are available to you that the other person can't even understand or perceive. So
At that moment, yeah, because they don't have the training. Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. Anybody else, or was that everybody? Okay. And so remember, with all that, of course, the relaxed, not collapsed, and that can be tricky, because then it's like, oh, I'm relaxing. No, you're collapsing. Not the same thing. Although you might relax to collapse, but relax, don't collapse. And so you hold structure even though it's soft, and then that's where you start to feel some of that internal motion. And then don't insist and don't resist in terms of actually using it, and you'll feel this internal dynamics and motion going on as well. Stillness and motion, mentally and spiritually, is represented by a number of things, but the one I want to talk about is being in the present moment, what Matt brought up a little bit ago. And the interesting thing about the present moment is that when you're really in that, truly, there's a stillness, and yet because you're in the present moment, staying in the present moment, it is constantly changing. Every instant is a constant change, and yet that constant instant of now in the moment is still. And so it actually has that stillness and motion aspect going on. I wanted to put it to you guys for thoughts or questions on any of that, and then we can maybe try to elaborate on this a little bit further with that.
Sometimes I feel like the language gets in my way, because when I talk about staying in the present, I can't stay because that's gone. That was a second ago. And so I've screwed myself up sometimes just by having the wrong thought. And there is something about being alive in the present that somehow helps me a little bit better. It is still something where I feel like I'll hit it and there's a nice sort of flickering and I'm there for a few seconds or whatever. And then there's the thought, oh, this feels good. And boom, it's just tossed right out again. But
cool. Yep.
And now, a word from our sponsor.
What is internal power? Most people only understand external exerting power, which is another way of saying tense muscle strength. Bigger, more tense muscles equal more power. That's external power. Internal power comes from pretty much anything except tensing your muscles. There are many sources of internal power, and tapping into them is more of a mind skill than anything else. This is where the phrase mind over matter comes from. My name is Richard Clear, and internal power is what I do. Students come to me for the mind over muscle secrets of internal power that are hard to find anywhere else. Over the past 40 years, I figured out how to get students on the fast track to effortless power. I created a one-of-a-kind online program that is getting such amazing results for my students that I put a money-back guarantee on it. Find out more at internalpowerkeys.com. That's internalpowerkeys.com. Thank you.
Anybody else thoughts or questions?
I agree with what Greg says in the sense that you sort of strive to be in the moment with a empty mind awareness, sort of, that you're there. But then what happens to me is, again, I pay attention to everything that's going on in the moment, and I try to let that go. And on those rare few seconds or brief time that I realize I'm just in the moment and doing things and aware, then my conscious enters in and says, oh my goodness, I'm in the moment, how exciting. And then so I have to start all over again. But I understand what Greg's talking about, and I've talked to some other people that sort of have the same situation occur.
I will make one clarifying statement on that, and it's one that I think a lot of people do make as a mistake, not realizing, and so they have trouble because of it with the in the moment study and practice and method, is that a lot of people think of it as empty mind. And if your mind's got a bunch of stuff in it, you may have to go to like trying to empty the mind fully first. But actually being in the moment isn't that your mind is empty. It's that you're actually fully present now. And so when they go to just true emptiness and they're going, I'm kind of in the moment, it's like, well, are you aware of being in the moment? And if you're not, then that's that emptiness of, the zero, the empty mind. And then that's not it either. It actually is, for lack of a better way to say this, that if I went one, that's closer to the reality of being in the moment, except that whatever I'm doing in this moment, I'm actually aware of that one thing. And that obviously can change, but you're in the change, it's that you can't go from down to up. When I said to up, I wasn't going up yet. I was changing to up. And so it really has to be down, changing, and that your mind is continually on what you're actually doing. And I can't even say it quite properly while doing it. But that it has to be not what you did, not what you're going to do, but what you are doing. And then that is part of that constant motion aspect, because it really is something, as long as you're in motion, that it really is that consistent something is happening there, and what that something is, and that's the only thing you're thinking about, not what was before, not what comes after, and not nothing. It's that one something that's happening now. So anybody else?
Yeah, I mean, I would just, oh, go ahead. Sorry, man.
All right, thanks, Daniel. If I just want to tell myself I just want to stay in the moment and practice this, I have one heck of a time.
That's right.
However, I think there's one of the things I do, and maybe you can shed light if I'm correct on this, is if I'm, say, pushing hands with someone, and I just say to myself, I am not going to do anything but listen to them and try to feel their mind for when they go to initiate, I'm there. And I think that's really helping me stay in the moment when I'm in that mode.
Yeah.
If I just say, I'm just going to stay in the moment, forget it. It's a mess.
I think having that full awareness, and that the awareness is really on, and that it's accurate to whatever they're doing right now, including if they start to change, including how they change, where they change, when they change, what they change, and what they change it to, and that it is not something they did or something they're going to do, but where they actually are the whole time. Then I think that's a great way to do that. And then you have the internal push hands is the best way to train that I've seen for that aspect.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, again, just to jump off, because obviously I think we're all in the same accord of what we're talking about. For me personally, and I'm sure for my Tai Chi brothers here, and of course for my students, and I'm certain for Sifu, we want our Tai Chi ability to be real and to match up and line up with reality. And, we don't want to be the people that just talk about these principles or these concepts. We really want to be able to do what the Tai Chi classics say, and what we've seen from other masters of the last generation, all that kind of stuff. And if I am working on a skill, now is really the only thing that exists. Like Harry was saying about feeling someone else and what they're doing. I can't have my mind on what other people have done in the past, and I can't have my mind on what I want to be doing with my skill in the future. I have to work the skill right here, right now, where it's at today. And it's the only way to really be honest with where I'm at, so that I can see my ability and cultivate more skills. So that's where I kind of think about it.
When I said to empty my mind and to be in the moment, I think that wasn't quite precise what I thought I was trying to convey. I was
Yeah, no, I figured what you meant. I just wanted to make sure there was clarity, because what a lot of people do is they get into the empty mind part to do it, but then they don't realize that in the moment isn't an empty mind, because they used emptying their mind to get there. And so I just wanted to clarify the point.
Just further on that, would put it more as maybe an open mind, where these things are happening around and they feed my mind, as opposed to my mind feeding situations. That's, I guess, open mind maybe, as opposed to empty mind.
Well, so in that case, you're really talking about passive versus active, and you can be in the moment both ways.
Oh, okay.
You can be in the moment passively, and that's easier at first, because you let your awareness be the thing that's in the moment and all of that. But then the next step after that's going on really well would be to do it actively as well. And the active one tends to be a lot tougher, because you start thinking about what you want to do, and that's not it. Or you start to do it, and then you start thinking about, oh, I made an error there, or I was doing that, and you start thinking about what you were doing, and that's not either. Even in action, it still has to be what you're doing now being now, not 1 second ago, or even half or a quarter of a second ago, and not a second or half second into the future either. It has to be what you're doing right now. And it's tougher. It's a tougher practice, but it is one that's important in the bigger scheme of things. Anybody else?
I think it ties everything that we've been talking about together because, you know, I without realizing that you were going to bring this up, you know, I was talking about being in the moment earlier because it is so critical for staying in motion. If your intention is all that's out there for like what you're going to do, that's kind of a fixed thing, even though it can change and it's a little more fluid. If you're thinking about what just happened, that's a fixed thing. That's in the past. That already happened. If you're in motion, if you're really in motion, you have to be in the present to keep that. And it gets to be one of those weird sort of contradictory language things, like Greg was talking about. That's a little funny to sort of wrap your head around at first, but that it really is these two extremes that are mixing. And because they're mixing, they both exist at the same time, and it becomes that motion and stillness and motion, but only if you really are connected with what's going on in the present. And the other thing is that there's different levels of connectedness. You know, I can be connected to what my hands are doing, but not necessarily what my legs are doing. And so, how connected are you, and how much are you taking in that present moment? And how much more could you be doing? And, you know, all of that, it's always a work in progress, like any of the other skills. You know, there's levels. And just because you have 1 degree of it doesn't mean that you shouldn't shoot for that, you know, a lot more. Yeah. Yep.
On the never ending path of oneness.
Yep.
Anybody else? All right. Do your Tai Chi, is it constantly and continued question to think about for what you're doing and then to work towards? Is your Tai Chi constantly and continuously structured and aligned? Is it constantly and continuously structured and aligned? Is it constantly and continuously soft? Soft and sung, really the right kind of soft that we're talking about. Are you constantly in this exact moment, in the now? Or are you thinking about what to do next or what you just did, right? Which is not it. Is your Tai Chi constantly and continuously alive and acting or aware of what's happening now, right? And so there's other things with that, but that's pretty much what I had for now. Any thoughts or questions on any of that or any other aspect of this that you guys wanted to ask about, talk about, mention, whatever?
Well, I would just say that's the goal for all those things you just said. And after doing Tai Chi for a long time before I was under Sifu, clear Tai Chi and the emphasis of what we're doing and how we're trying to go about this thing really pushes for that ideal for sure. So thank you, Sifu, really is what I was trying to say.
With our internal push hands, if both practitioners are just saying to themselves, I am going to stay in the now, and I'm going to wait until I feel something from the other person, you would be standing there potentially forever. So
Actually, if the other person was saying, I am going to be in the now, and I'm saying I am in the now, I've got them. Go ahead.
Okay.
I think he just got you, Harry.
Of course.
That was then, man. This is now.
That's right.
So can you be in the now and decide to execute?
Can you be in the now and decide to do your form and stay in the now the whole way through your form?
Well, can you when you decide to do it? I think the question he's getting at here is, I'm in the now and then I want to do something. Yeah. And the problem is, as soon as I thought I wanted to do something, I'm not in the now any longer. I'm now thinking about what I want to do instead of what I am doing. And so if the other person will do that, I should have them at the point where they started thinking about what they wanted to do, as long as I'm still fully in the now. what happens is most people's experience of the now like this is, and then that Tai Chi aspect is when their life is really threatened, like in a really bad car crash and everything slows down, but everything is really moving. They don't start thinking about what they're going to do or what they were doing, maybe what they were doing a little bit, but ideally not. And if you're really having that slow motion that's acting now and you're seeing what you need to do, and somewhere out of there, you can just reach out and pick out something or make an effect that you feel like you're able to move in real time while everything else is going in slow motion. You are fully in the now while you're doing that.
Okay. I experienced that in that attack in New York City several years ago.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he was attacked and basically experienced this in the now. And so, but what happens is even then, it's not like you look at it and go, oh, well, I could do this while this is going on. What happens when you're actually in the situation and that's going on, and I've had a couple car crashes where that happened and a few attacks where that kind of thing happened, is you don't think about, I'm going to do this. You just realize I'm doing that, that or I can do this now, and you do it. And but it's not a contemplated thing so much. It's more like, well, this is probably not good, and then you do things as you're in the now doing it, right? And so like that. And so it's an interesting thing because like you go through your form doing in the now, and you do go through the moves, and yet you don't think about the next move or the move you just did. You think about where you're at, not even the move that you're in if it's got multiple parts to it. You're thinking about where you are at right now, and yet by the time you get done, you have moved through the whole set. And so same thing on the push hands in terms of the execution of it. It really is that I'm in motion, I'm responsive to what they're doing now, and I am continually responsive to that. And at some point, it leads them out unless they really have made no errors of any kind whatsoever. If they did it perfect, truly perfect, then they probably moved you, and in the now. If they make a mistake anywhere and you're really in the now, the instant they begin making that mistake, you're in the now of that now. So what happens is that you actually take advantage of it right then and there. And you don't ever, the thought that you're going to execute on them never comes into your head. It's not part of the equation at that point.
Is that because you've already decided to push hands, so now you guys are pushing and he is in error, so now he is getting pushed out? Not
think about it like this. You're standing there, you've got your hands up like this, and I've got a ball and I toss it to you and you smack it, right? And you didn't know I was going to toss it to you. The ball's on its way, and just out of reaction or whatever, bang, oh, how much time did you think about that? Boom, there's the ball, and and then you see it after the fact, and you're not in the now when you're seeing it after the fact. But while it was going on, you weren't thinking ahead of time, because how could you? If it really is a surprise, then it's now, and yet you swatted it or you caught it now, and you didn't think about that ahead of time. It's oh, and you did it, and yet you weren't trying. You didn't think about this ahead of time, even 5 seconds ahead of time. Hey, I'm going to swat that thing out of the air. I'm going to catch it, but you did. And so it is one of the harder parts, or one of the conundrums, if you will, about the whole thing. And that is that it's a hard thing to get used to, because most people will want to act, and then wanting to act, they're thinking about something that is not occurring at this moment. And so it really is, if I'm fully aware and knowing that I'm fully aware and paying attention to everything that's going on now, it's much more on the push hands experience that they do something to themselves, much, much more than anything I try to do to them. And then we're going this way now, I just keep helping them now, and off they go, or wherever direction or whatever that is. I know it takes a little bit, but I at least want, and it is that in motion idea. If something's in motion, think about it. You've got a cart or something that's like got four wheels and a flat top, like a old, I can't think of what they're called, like a kid's go-kart kind of a thing with just mechanical. There's no electricity or no motorized parts. It's just, wheels and on the floor. And if you're moving on one of those and it's got range of, it can move in any direction easily at any time and will drift quite a bit, and you're steering it in order to keep it straight. Let's say you're laying on top of it, you're going to have to stay right now, because if you start thinking about where you want to be, next thing you know, you're crashing into the wall or something on that scooter, I'll call it, whatever you want to call it, on that scooter. And so you have to stay now in order to guide that continually to move along. And it's like that because it's in motion. Or if you're in a car and you start drifting and you're not driving, then you don't do anything about it, it'll crash. And when you start to do something about it, you don't overdo it. You don't start thinking, I really want to go over there and really jerk the wheel that way, because you will crash that way. It's that you actually have to steer it for what's happening with the vehicle in motion at this moment in time. In order to really do well, especially the higher speed you go, the more that it has to be now becomes the case. Because if you're in heavy traffic on a freeway at 65, 70, 75 miles an hour, if you thought about it that long, half second, quarter second, there's a good chance, especially if you're going through Atlanta, for instance, and there's curves, the amount of time it took you to go, oh, that might not be good, you're not going to get that far in your thought before you're crashed. You actually have to flow in traffic and be in this instant right now, doing what you need to be doing properly as you go, staying in your lane, flowing in there like that, that whole thing. And it really does have to be now, because anything you start to think about, you're not going to have time for that without crashing before you ever get to the full thought. And I'm talking about second, half second, second kind of time frames too, because the ones that come to mind is going to Atlanta 60 to 70 miles an hour, trying to slow down some, but traffic is all moving at that pace, and you're going through those curves, and it's wall-to-wall traffic doing this. And not my idea of a good time at all, from a driving and personal safety standpoint. But I've been there and done that several times, and it's you better be present in that instant, because that's anything else is you've caused a 30-car crash pile up or something, maybe more, but it'll be bad. Anyways, anybody else? Anything else? Okay. Well, hopefully we gave you a bit to think about today and some stuff to have some ideas about for your Tai Chi practice. The stillness aspect is in there, stillness in motion. Hopefully we've given you some ways to approach that. We definitely, like I said, got into talking about the now aspects of it. It's one of the more important and deeper principles in Tai Chi. And we hope this has been helpful to you. If you have any questions or comments, please put them in the body below this where you see this posted. And we look forward to the next time. And everybody, thank you for participating today.
Thank you, Sifu.
Thank you, Sifu.
Good to see you guys. Thank you.
Have a great week, and we'll talk to you all more soon. Those of you guys in the meeting, stay on, because we'll talk some after we're done. And have a great week, and we'll talk to you more next time.
And now, a word from our sponsor.
For those of you who are interested in internal power and want a reliable place to start, and for anyone who wants to experience internal power for themselves, go to internalpowerguide.com. I built a crash course in hands-on internal power. The Practical Guide to Internal Power is a work at your own pace online program. It is the course I use to get students from 0 to 60 as quickly as possible, and it is totally free. So sign up at internalpowerguide.com now and get started right away. That's internalpowerguide.com.